Marlon Chito Vera and Cory Sandhagen has striking similarities between Yoel Romero and Robert Whittaker too. And I think that this fight tomorrow is going to play out similarly to the all-time classic between Yoel and Whittaker. There are so many similarities that I can draw between Cory Sandhagen and Robert Whittaker, not only in the way that they strike, but in their storylines, how they've been able to improve as fighters. Just how Chito Vera and Yoel Romero are some of the most durable fighters we've ever seen that have the ability to put your lights out like that. This is my official prediction video, but before I give my official pick, let's get into the story of this fight. The first thing that stands out with Whittaker and Cory Sandhagen is the adjustment that they had to make in the middle of their career. Now remember, both of these guys were always doing well, but they went from kind of going through the motions, riding on their own talent and abilities, to getting a wake-up call and then turning it around and going out there, not trying to put points on the board, but trying to hurt their opponents. And when I say hurt their opponents, of course, it's fighting. What I mean is throwing everything with malicious intent. Now, you don't have the ability to get through your fights with the nuclear option. You can't put guys out with one shot. But what you can do is you can break them down and severely hurt them as the fight goes on with everything that you throw. It's to show up with a different level of intensity. For Cory Sandhagen, that moment came, the wake-up call that is, in the Aljamain Sterling fight in which he got choked out in the first round. He said that it was so haunting to wake up to Aljamain Sterling running around the octagon screaming, and he said that he felt so pathetic in that moment and he never wanted to go into a fight without having the war mindset that, okay, I'm not here to fuck around. This is not a game. I have to go out there to kill. I have to go out there to really try to hurt my opponents. This is serious. I don't want to be in this position ever again. And for Robert Whittaker, it was getting his knees stomped by Yoel Romero in the first fight. Now, he won that fight, which was very impressive. But one thing that happened is that Yoel Romero in that first fight stomped Whittaker's knees, and Whittaker for the remainder of the fight for the last 4 rounds was basically hobbling on one leg. And so the first thing he did in the Yoel Romero 2 fight is start stomping on Yoel's knees. Of course, it didn't do much to Yoel because Romero is built different, but every single opponent that Whittaker's had since has basically been severely injured in their fights. Jared Cannonier. I believe Jared Cannonier had his orbital bone broke and his arms broken. I think Darren Till had his ACL torn in that fight with Robert Whittaker stomping on his knees as well. And if you saw the Marvin Vettori fight, you know what I mean. Robert Whittaker puts a different level of tenacity behind every single one of his strikes. His leg kicks, his body kicks. Cory Sandhagen is the same way. Now, Sandhagen's adjustment was shown in the fight immediately following his Aljamain Sterling loss with Marlon Vera. The first thing I notice is that everything he's throwing is with the intent to injure Marlon Vera. Again, he can't get by on this power, but what he can do is he could tear your legs up. He could tear your orbital bone up. And he did just that. In the second round, he severely hurt Marlon Vera with a question mark kick that actually broke his orbital bone.
His orbital broke.
That has to be one of the coldest moments I've ever seen in a fight. Cory Sandhagen yelling at Marlon Vera that his orbital bone is broke. Right before he yelled that, he jabbed at his eye too to try to fucking rub it in even more. And 30 seconds later, he lands the spinning wheel kick to the head of Marlon Vera, finishing him. And immediately after that, he goes out there, fights Frankie Edgar, knocks him out in the first round with a vicious flying knee. And you see the exact same intensity with every single Cory Sandhagen fight since. Then goes out there and completely fucks up TJ Dillashaw. We all know that Cory got robbed in that fight. He should have beat TJ Dillashaw, did a shitload of damage. And I'm just going to say this, the most skillful display I've ever seen in a fight is the opening minute of the TJ Dillashaw and Cory Sandhagen fight. He stuns TJ Dillashaw with the right hand, and it actually sits TJ down. And then TJ presses Cory up against the fence, and Cory jumps up and hits him with a flush flying knee, and then transitions that flying knee into an inverted triangle. And within 50 seconds, you see TJ Dillashaw getting stunned twice, and now he's fighting for his life in an inverted triangle choke. And when I watch Cory Sandhagen fight, I'm always shocked by how good he is, honestly. Now, of course, he's lost to guys like Petr Yan, he's lost to Aljamain Sterling, but he's looked amazing in every other fight. We're going to get to the Song Yadong fight in a little bit, but I just wanted to say that, like, Cory Sandhagen's adjustment is so similar to Robert Whittaker, and Marlon Vera is like Yoel Romero. And if I can look for a similar fight between Chito and Yoel, it would be Yoel's fight with Luke Rockhold, where he's getting pieced up a bit in the beginning of the fight, but Rockhold's strikes are not affecting Yoel at all. He starts to get discouraged because he's hurting himself more than he's hurting Yoel. And then Yoel in the third round blitzes him, knocks him out brutally. And that's similar to the fight with Rob Font. Now, Rob Font actually was doing a lot better than Rockhold was doing against Yoel because he was landing enough head strikes to Chito Vera that would probably get most guys out of there, or at least hurt a lot of guys to the point to where they're almost finished. But instead, he's fighting Chito Vera. He's punching himself out. He's starting to get discouraged because his shots aren't doing anything. I mean, look at the sequence right here. Rob Font hits Chito with like an elbow, and everyone in the building is like, damn, that's a big elbow. But Chito just takes it and mocks him, like completely mogs him, and does a little bit of a dance. And then towards the end of the second round, Chito Vera hits Rob Font with like a beautiful short check left hook, and the rest is history. Wobbles Rob Font, drops some vicious elbows on the ground, and then in the third, fourth, and fifth, Chito Vera has a moment in each of those rounds where he really hurts Rob Font. Every now and then having a massive shot that like completely swells up the face of Rob Font. And at the end of the fight, Rob Font looked like the Elephant Man. He really looked like he was on death's door. And that's why it's so scary to fight Chito, because again, like, it doesn't matter how well you do if you're headhunting, he's just going to fuck you up eventually. Just like Yoel Romero. People used to say that hitting Yoel was like hitting steel, kicking steel, and it would just injure you, and it was almost pointless to even be fighting him unless you're a Robert Whittaker who's that skilled, who can throw with that level of tenacity, and even then it's not going to hurt him. I've seen the same thing with Marlon Vera. You see guys like Dominic Cruz just start to get discouraged because it doesn't matter what they do. This guy just does not wear damage at all. It does not affect him, and it actually seems to give him more strength because you're just out here punching yourself out until you're tired. You can't affect this guy. And people talk about this guy like he's a technical maestro, like he's just so good with his defensive ability. It's not even that he's just putting his forehead first and he's just taking all of his shots that way. He gets clipped on the chin all the time. Like, he gets hit in the places you're not supposed to get hit. It just doesn't affect him. It's his chin. I think he gets way too much credit for his defensive ability. It's really just his fucking toughness. And okay, I'm going to make my pick. I'm leaning towards Cory Sandhagen. I think it's going to be 49-46, but most likely 48-47. I think that Sandhagen's going to get hurt a couple of times in this fight, but his chin is ridiculous. Actually, probably one of the most underrated chins in the UFC. I mean, the shots that he was taking from Marlon Vera, clean counter strikes from first round Marlon, and he took them like they were nothing. Look at the right hands he was eating from Song Yadong. And yeah, I think he'll get hurt, but I don't see him getting put out cold. Another important thing that I have to mention is his footwork. Unlike Dominic Cruz, who at this point has been read like a book, who's a little bit predictable. You know what he's doing when he's southpaw. You know what he's doing when he's orthodox. We don't know what Cory Sandhagen's doing when he's southpaw, when he's orthodox. He's constantly switching stances. His creativity is key. He's mixing it up all the time. He's always moving around 10 feet away, 15 feet away, closing the distance for a second, and then he's out of there. You don't really know what he's doing, so he's hard to prepare for that reason. And most importantly, he has the perfect split amongst all of his strikes. It's like 10% elbows to try to cut you up, 30% hard leg kicks to try to injure your legs, tear your knees up, 30% body kicks, and 30% head strikes. Everything is to damage you, and that is something that Chito's previous opponents haven't been able to do. They haven't been able to tear the legs up. They haven't been able to switch it up and try to split you open with an elbow, but also go to the body. Cory Sandhagen has the ability to do that. So I think that by the time the fourth round is there, the fifth round is here, where Chito's usually able to then start to make his reads and actually make something happen, I think he'll be damaged. I think he'll be severely compromised, and I think he'll be wearing a couple of injuries, a cut above the eye. I think we're going to see him get cut open. I think that Sandhagen is the better bet. A lot of people are picking him, but I don't think it's going to be like a levels performance where Sandhagen's just untouchable. Chito Vera is deceptively fast in certain moments when he can close the distance. He does have some pretty quick hands, and although Cory Sandhagen has a really good chin, I think he's going to get stung a couple of times. And again, you just cannot get through a Chito fight without being scathed at least a couple of times. So this is going to be a wild fight. I mean, we're going to see moments where Chito drops Sandhagen and the crowd's going crazy. They think a finish might happen, but Sandhagen gets back to work. He's poking at Chito at range again, and then he's back to stealing rounds. I think it's going to look like the Whittaker and Romero 2 fight. I think Sandhagen's going to go out there. He's going to mix it up in the first 2 rounds, start significantly damaging the legs of Chito, going to the body. I think he's going to cut him open in the first 2 rounds as well. And then I think we're going to see some takedowns from Sandhagen. Now, I think that Sandhagen's going to be shooting takedowns to cap off a round, meaning if he's ahead in a round, to make sure he can't get caught by anything big, anything surprising towards the last minute, he'll shoot for a takedown to bide him some time to stay safe. Those are the kind of takedowns we'll see from him. But other than that, I don't think he's going to try to go out there and submit Marlon Vera. And the only chance I think we're going to see a submission is if one of these guys gets rocked and the other one jumps on the neck. So they're going to have to get hurt first. But nonetheless, 4th, 5th round, I think Chito's going to catch Sandhagen with something big. I think he's going to drop him and get a 10-8. But that's it. I think he's going to have max 2 moments in this fight, and Sandhagen's going to run away with 23 minutes of mixing it up and injuring Chito Vera. I am a massive fan of both of these guys. I love Chito Vera's personality. He's like a fucking modern-day Aztec warrior. And Cory Sandhagen has one of the most entertaining fight styles to watch, and I love the intensity that he brings to the octagon. I want to know who you guys are picking to win this fight. Please let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you disagreed with anything I said in this video, but I got to go with Cory, man. I have to. A lot of Chito's opponents have been guys that just got in his face, stayed there in boxing range, headhunted, and they didn't have the ability to mix it up. They didn't have the reach advantage. They didn't have the height. They're not switching stances, and they're not unorthodox and creative. Like Dominic Cruz is a little bit unorthodox, but it's like he's been unorthodox in the same way for so long that it's no longer unorthodox. He's easier to read, and Cory Sandhagen has not been read by the game yet. You know what I mean? So I don't think that Chito has the boxing of a Petr Yan when he can let his hands go. He doesn't have those kinds of combinations, and he's going to have to rely on like single big strikes to hurt Cory, and I don't think that is a winnable path to victory. I hope you guys understand what I'm getting at. I hope you liked the comparison I drew between this fight and Yoel and Whittaker. I'm riding with Cory Sandhagen 48-47 by decision. I want to know who you're picking. Let me know in the comments. Until next time.